Go for it. I'm recording on my end as the backup already.
What is happening? Whoa. All right. It looks like it's good.
Okay.
I saw a sleeping dog. Is that a good thing? Bad
I
thing?
mean, I saw that too. That's my like desktop background. I don't know why that came up, but it seems to be okay now. Huh.
All right, cool. Cool. Very cool.
Yep, I see us. Okay. Welcome to the Making Geeks podcast. We are the podcast for makers, families, and geeks. So, guys, episode 303.
303.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should just call it episode 3.
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
like
in
Making
some
Geeks
ways.
Part 2, Episode 3, or Making Geeks Revelation Part 3, Episode 3.
Retribution.
Season 3? Season 4. What season would we be in?
Oh, gosh. Ooh, season.
This is season 6 or 7.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. If you look at the metadata for a lot of the episodes, I always put like the season with it. So I'd have to go back and look to see what the last one is. It's either I'm pretty sure it was 6. So this I would possibly consider this season 7.
Okay. We've had a couple Christmas specials in there too.
We've had a lot of specials.
And a couple of lost media
Which-
recordings too that never saw the light of day
Yeah,
because they just
yeah,
got
there's
corrupted or whatever.
There's a couple that we weren't quite able to recover, or the recording was so bad, or with a one special internet personality that likes 3D printing that we couldn't quite recover some audio from all the machines in the background. I think we put it out anyways though,
I
but
think we did.
people did not enjoy that.
Yeah, you think
Yeah.
noise canceling was a thing back then, but I guess not.
Noise canceling was the volume knob to turn it down.
Yeah. That was the before times, before AI could like filter everything out.
So for everybody listening and who has been listening, at least with our new run here starting in January, I think it was, our plan was to do an episode a month, but somehow we missed March. So we did one for January, February, theoretically.
We're off to a killer
We missed
start.
March. Yeah, we are. And then, we're in April, but just like we had talked about in some previous episodes, and, I'm sure Wes and Donovan can kind of attest to this, but things seem to get busier and it's harder to carve out a consistent time that we can all kind of agree on because of schedules that are not entirely in our control to kind of do this.
You know what's funny though? The last one that we missed in March, there was effort by I believe you to like set something up, because usually you give us like, whoever the person is that is like the initial like seed of the effort. They're like, hey, what are you guys doing next Thursday or Tuesday or whatever? And we'll try like align stuff, but sometimes it doesn't work. Strangely and ironically, this one that we're on right now, tonight, I think you were like, hey, you guys want to record something? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then Donovan's like, yeah, let's do it after this certain time. And so maybe that's the secret, is it needs to be more spontaneous. Maybe? I don't know.
There's a good possibility. There really is a good possibility of that. There's, you know how you guys have heard of like Murphy's Law? Like if anything can go wrong, it will. There's a list of different laws like that. I can't remember all of them, but one of them actually applies to this situation too. And it has to do with filling time. If you ever have empty time, it will automatically get filled or something along those lines. So there's a concept to kind of not necessarily support, but explain what happens on these times. Even if we try to set something in the future, something always seems to come up between the present and that future date. So, Wes, I think you got it. I think spontaneity might be more fun. And it just happens that I'm on.
Parkinson's law.
Say it again?
Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is the
Yeah.
idea that your work will expand to fill the time allotted for its completion.
That is exactly the one I was thinking about with this. Yeah, there's like a list of these.
I
I
wouldn't
kind of
mind.
want to put them up in my classroom.
We should like bring one up every episode or something, just to have like a little nugget.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Parkinson's
well,
law.
I mean, one of us is a teacher. Having a teaching moment included in would be self-referential to our hosts.
The more you know.
And I want it to be authentic too. So you guys would have to respond by saying, "Wait, what'd you say? What? How do you do that?" I'll feel right.
Huh?
I'll feel right at home.
We need like to insert like a little more you know rainbow above my head.
That'd be cool. So it's been, we haven't even really talked online,
No.
and it's always weird when I don't hear directly from either one of you, but even see social media posts or anything in our Discord. So I have no idea what's going on. How you guys doing? What's new?
I want to refute that a little bit because like you're part of conversations that we're all a part of. And so we've talked sort of we've been part of the same conversation.
But for
In
the
grand
people that
scheme,
aren't,
yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
for the people that aren't Patreon members though, what are those conversations usually? I mean, it's not groundbreaking stuff typically.
Well, I mean, it's your
Nintendo Switch 2
geek
came out.
fare.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
Yeah.
cool stuff. Did you see this? What are you working on? It's fun, but it's not really telling in terms of what we're really up to.
fair enough. Good point.
Donovan, what have
I
you been up
rescind
to,
my
man?
comment.
Come on, Donovan. What
Oh
have
my
you been
gosh.
doing?
So much. It's we're still planning on moving, and so a lot of everything that I've been involved in lately has been in preparation of getting the house ready, getting ourselves ready, getting our finances ready, getting everything ready for us to potentially move. And so I've been working on house projects. Last weekend, I ripped all of the gross carpet out of both of my girls' rooms and laid laminate flooring down in both their rooms. I've been working on trying to finish my garage. I've also been building a lot of racks, storage tote racks, because that has become a whole business in and of itself. So I've been busy, very busy.
You know, whoever buys your house, I hope they realize the value that they're getting, because typically you don't do projects like this right before you're trying to sell unless it's going to directly improve the house bottom line.
We're not gonna sell. We're not gonna sell the house. With everything
Plot
going
twist.
on,
M. Night Shyamalan, is that you?
well, the problem is everything that's happening right now makes me realize that I don't want to lose the asset of our home. To have something happen to where we wouldn't be able to buy a house if we couldn't. I mean, if we didn't have a house, because we wouldn't be able to afford it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to rent out this house while we rent a different house. So one will effectively pay for the other to try and get that, balanced out in some regard. So, but it also gives us a way to, if things don't work out, that we have a way to come back home if we need to come back home.
Hopefully you could even figure it out in a way that you might end up even with a little bit more of a surplus, depending on where you can rent.
That's true. That's true.
I mean,
We'll see how it
I
goes.
have no idea what the economic conditions are in for housing in other states, because California is a big dumpster fire for housing. But hopefully it works out to your benefit.
That's the hope. We'll see how it goes.
Surplus wise, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that ideally what you'd ideally what you would hope for at the very least is a net zero.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's also, I don't know, we talking about the work that we have put into this house. It's also the fact that we have put so much work into this house and customized it to like what we want. And when we almost finished the Hobbit hole, I was having this moment with the kids. We were playing in the Hobbit hole and just hanging out and playing around. And I'm like, man, I don't want to have to build another hobbit hole in another house. I like this one.
But see, this is where you take it one step further and make this your YouTube studio house. That way, the entire thing is a write-off, and you could also write off those improvements as video projects.
Well, I mean, luckily for me, these improvements are write-offs because they're part of the work that I do online. So,
Mhm.
not the whole house, obviously, but an
Not yet.
ever-growing sections of the house are becoming their own, tax write-offs from a business.
It could be like a fantastical, like Airbnb, like filled with geeky references.
That might even be more lucrative in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. I mean, well, they were growing for a while, but I think that we're going to see a little bit of a cooling off of that right now, unfortunately. Anything else interesting going on? I'm still waiting for that Hobbit Hole video. Since I can't make it out there, I got to
Yes,
live
I am
vicariously through your video.
I have one more thing left to do, and that's to build a fake fire for the fireplace. Wes already did a lot of the legwork in the electronics for that. I just need to find the right Hobbit logs to make a little log fire, and then put the electronics and all of the stuffing in, and then it will be done. My plan is to have the video out by my birthday, which is in 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks. So,
I know that Wes was laughing at Hobbit logs, but
yep.
That's after the second breakfast. They're quite big. Let's see. What have I been up to? I've been up to a lot of stuff. Both my kids are knee deep in activities. I'm doing Boy Scout leader stuff. Grant transitioned over to Boy Scouts a couple months ago, so he's been doing that. Camp outs and all the different things. And on the geek side, I've been doing a lot of stuff with Nicole and Turi from When Geeks Craft and Ben from Make for Life Workshop. And we've been working on this idea that will be for our project in January. Next January, we're getting a jump start. So basically, in the last couple of years, I've been doing these lantern parades here in North Carolina. The first year was a giant Game Boy, 4 feet tall, internally lit with LEDs. I did a TIE Fighter 2 years ago and upgraded it this year with like lighting effects and blaster effects. I helped Turi with a Starship Enterprise. And then I helped Nicole with a giant like UFO, and she was getting abducted, and it was really cool. So we're like, okay, how can we top these awesome projects? And so basically, we came up with we're going to do Pac-Man and associated ghosts with Pac-Man. But they're going to be, we think we've landed on 2 feet tall. Think like a picket sign, but each side of the sign has a full display on it, like a 2 feet by 2 feet display. Of course, it's circular for Pac-Man, and the little shape of a D shape for a ghost, just kind of on its side. And they're going to be using like matrix LEDs. We're knee deep into WLED and all the cool things that software can offer, and some of the limitations of it. And it's nuts. You can do all this fancy stuff with it. If you've never messed with it before, you should definitely check it out. They do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You buy an ESP32 little microcontroller. You plug it in, and it like flashes it automatically with all the software. You just log into it like a smart device with your Wi-Fi credentials, and it reboots. And it's like, oh, what LEDs are you hooking up? And you just tell it how long your strand is, and it does all these pre-assigned effects. You can even do animations in it using presets and playlists. So we've already come up with Pac-Man animation in it. We've come up with the ghost eye movement animations, the little fluttering of the little shirt or whatever, what do you call it at the bottom of a ghost, that tattered rags? I don't know what the heck that's called.
Skirt? I don't know.
Skirt, yeah, sure.
Tassels? I don't know.
Yeah, it turns blue. Of course, we want to eventually have it all dynamically driven when each person is carrying their individual ghost or Pac-Man, to have them all controlled either together or communicating with each other. We've already started messing around with some like wireless communication protocols. So basically, you hit a button and it automatically changes all the 4 ghosts to blue, as they do in there, and they'll start fleeing from Pac-Man when he eats a bigger power pellet. Like, we got all these ideas. Some of them are kind of, you know, what's the word? Like next level kind of achievements after we've, what's the phrase? In Kickstarter, when you reach the main goal and you have
like a stretch goal.
stretch goal. Thank you. So you have a couple stretch goals. We have like a little document that we created, and it's really fun. And the key part of this, besides the LEDs, we found this awesome material that I haven't posted a ton about. I did some on my stories, but they don't last for 24 hours. So if you happen to miss it, you miss it. So there's this acrylic called black LED acrylic. It is magic. So from the outside, it appears like completely opaque black acrylic, but if you put light behind it, it allows light to shine through. And if you happen to use like a grid, like we're doing, so each dot of this matrix of LEDs has its own little channel for the light to come out as a pure pixel, and the black is perfectly contrasting to the light, and it provides like this super crisp image, really. And it has some sort of like light channeling property, I think, within the acrylic, so it sort of makes it come to the front of the acrylic. It's hard to describe. You can get it from Tap Plastics online and some other distributors. And funny thing, I tagged them in one of the posts on my Instagram stories, and they're like, hey, you guys want to do a collaboration? So we're in talks with them right now to get some free material to test some of these ideas, like at the right scale, and eventually we'll have them in a lantern parade and some other things that we're kind of cooking in the back burner here for some other ideas in the meantime, so we don't have to wait till January for the final thing. We're going to have several stages of, accomplishment to kind of share. So I've been kind of coy about some of this stuff. Hopefully I can share a lot more in the future, but it's super exciting. We there was like 2 weeks where Turi and I were like constantly messaging each other on like a Discord like chat with like what innovation we came up with and what thing we found, and it was like back and forth collaboration like at rapid speed, where the third guy, Ben, he was like trying to catch up, like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Like, he's like, oh, I found this idea how to do the animations. We're like, we did that like 2 weeks ago. He's like, what? Are you serious? So it's pretty fun going at breakneck speed with another person that kind of can communicate with you at that level. It's pretty fun.
Okay, I'm Googling all of this as you're talking.
Yeah.
Tap Plastics for the black
LED acrylic.
MCAS black LED plastic sheet, yes?
Yep.
All right. And so for the WLED, is it knowledge?
Yes.
With a period between the O and the yeah.
That's the URL is knowledge. It's very
knowledge. Yeah.
Quirky, but
yeah. So kno.wled.ge.
Correct.
All right. For my edification, for anybody listening, that's what he's talking about.
I can go on a long time about these things. I won't, to allow us to talk about other fun things. But if you're interested, in stuff I'm making, be sure to follow in my Instagram, and I'm trying to do more on TikTok. We'll see how that works. And
you should.
Yeah.
The things I've been up to seem far less interesting than Hobbit holes and Pac-Man. So I feel like I'm kind of turning in circles and just trying to keep things at bay. A lot of things have been centered around just a lot of driving, supporting my kids with their activities. Big orders, laser orders for through my wife's side of the business. And of course, I have 2 new lasers in the shop that I am currently working through and trying to cross off my list and finally get to the things that I think are a little bit more creatively inspiring to me. So hopefully I'll get to those by summer. Otherwise, it's pretty much laser stuff and reviews and trying to hold down the fort.
I mean, to be fair, most of the time stuff with you is laser stuff. So
yeah, I know. Even though that's kind of my reality in the world that I've kind of made for myself, it doesn't mean that's where I want to be. It's just where I currently am, because those are the opportunities that have come up most recently. But I've been trying to, elevate the machines that I'm working with and expand on the projects and materials I can use. And I pretty much have the holy trinity of lasers that I've been trying to get for a long time, which is basically a CO2 diode, excuse me, and the fiber. So I have all that in my shop now. I feel like it's complete. Even though I said yes to a couple others. Yeah. So
And what can you make with this stuff now that you finally got the trio?
uh, coins. I mean,
Cool. Yeah. So much
the,
stuff. Where do you start, right?
and that's kind of the problem too. But I mean, I have projects that I want to do. I'll give kind of like a heads up of one thing I've wanted to do for a while. Uh, like 2 years ago, I got like a complete set of and I'm holding it with the camera now. It'll show of all the Muppet minifigures, Lego minifigures, and I want to build a stage with a little balcony and have the Muppets on it like a display piece.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I worked out a lot of it. I haven't got to the part where I'm building anything yet. I actually want to do like a full like plank wood floor using popsicle sticks, for the stage floor, and figure out how to do the balcony and just have a good display for the pieces. And I want to do something similar with the Dungeon and Dragon minifigures that I bought. So smaller scale projects that I think are going to be fun. I really don't care about the return on views or anything like that. I just want to make some things that are fun for right now because I'm tired of reviewing machines, even though I keep saying yes. But they got it's boring. It's hard to be excited and creative for going through the same step
Sure.
with every one of these. So
Speaking of exciting, anything new in the geeky world that we must talk about? I know a couple things that come to mind.
there are a
What's
couple
it?
things.
Yeah.
There's low hanging fruit.
Which one do you
here.
want?
Let's just switch to. That's an obvious, easy one.
That would definitely be the top of my list. Maybe
Yeah.
at the top of Wes's list. I don't know if it's at the top of Sean's list.
Well,
I'm not geeking out
so-
about it, but I need to talk about it.
So just a little bit of context too. A lot of us already talked about this in our Discord channel. Which, if you want to be part of that conversation, go ahead and join our Patreon. You can be part of that too. So we've already heard from each other a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk to our bigger wide audience about our feelings on Switch 2.
Donovan, you first.
My thoughts can be summed up in a sound, and that sound is
Okay, but how about some explanation of it? Because that can mean a lot of
you want me
things.
to you want me to expound on that? I can expound on that. I am see that is my attempt to expound on it. I love Nintendo. I do. I have been a fanboy since the NES, and the first time that I opened the package and I hooked it up to the TV and I put Mario Kart and Duck Hunt into the system and turned it on, I was hooked. I love Nintendo. I do. It's such a huge part of my personality. Me as Donovan, as a culture, like Nintendo is such a huge part of that. That said, I could not be more disappointed. Over the more I hear about the Switch 2, the more I realize that I may just skip this one. Because the features, though neat, aren't groundbreaking, they're not innovative, and the price point is so astronomical as to almost I really think I'm gonna skip this one. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'll go really quick. I love seeing new things come out. I like seeing the progression of different technologies. I love seeing them, especially in the gaming space, since I've been close to 40 years of tracking and watching video games and liking them. Very rarely ever buying or getting the new system when it comes out. So the fact that it's coming out doesn't dissuade my excitement over the possibilities. Um, because especially at this point in time, a new console for almost any manufacturer shouldn't really garner that much excitement in some ways. In some ways, it's actually the games, because those are the experiences that we're trying to connect with. So seeing some of the new games coming out for this and knowing some of the ones that will be coming out in the future, I think are kind of cool. I'd love to try the new Mario Kart. I would love to try the new Donkey Kong. I like the fact that the graphics look like they're somewhat modern. So I think that's a step in the right direction as far as the price goes. I think it needs to cost more. I think it needs to cost more. Uh, Premium products need to cost more. Plain and simple. And you look at most of the games, especially when you're looking at DLC or the season pass stuff, when you start adding all that up, the Nintendo games are kind of on par. And when you look at inflation and other things, I know that wages don't keep pace with it, but it's kind of on par with the cost of goods right now. And this is not including the tariff stuff right now, that is a whole different conversation, which will probably alter some of this too. But things are going to inevitably cost more. I think that $300 price point for the Switch was fantastic. It would be nice, or would have been nice, for Switch 2 to kind of hit something similar. But I think it was almost needed for them to kind of move forward. But that's just me. And I'm also not planning on buying one. But I'm just a fan. How about you, Wes?
You're muted. You're muted.
Oi! Usually I can align with one of you guys. Usually my thoughts align with one of you guys. In this instance, it's almost like I align with both you simultaneously, which is kind of weird. Even though it seems like they're diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
For the last many systems, I've purchased a Nintendo system on launch day since probably GameCube. Every one of those, I've been very excited about the prospect and the innovation and the risk taking that was behind it. Right? They've always kind of gone like to their own beat of their own drum, right? And so like they were a little bit late. They were a lot late on the whole internet connectivity for their consoles. They were super late, and they never even adopted the idea of playing media that wasn't a Nintendo game in their consoles, which is unique, right? You had the Xbox or original PlayStation could play the CD. That's what launched most of their sales. Is we got a CD player. That's new. PlayStation 2 came out. Oh, they were going to include a DVD player. That was very new at the time. That was an easy way to get a DVD player and a game system all in one. Of course, Xbox, emulated a lot of those same ideas. You could play DVDs in them. You could play music CDs. When you think about it, not any of their systems of Nintendo systems could do that. So they were solely basing their sales on their games. Like there was no other extra stuff. And they were behind the curve on a lot of the internet stuff, which I think was, ended up kind of biting them. But it also allowed them to innovate once the other players kind of came out with their different, online systems. They're like, we're going to do this thing called the Miiverse. Yeah, they canceled it now. But it allowed them to do something new with the same tools that had been played with for a decade, from these other two companies. So it's cool to see them innovate. This new system, I think most of the things in the list were things that were scrapped from the original Switch. Obviously maybe not the graphical capabilities, but some of the other, like a robust kickstand, one that doesn't break or fall over. Yeah, you think that might have been in the original plan. For some reason it got scrapped. And there's all these other examples, of things that should have been included. And so I'm not as excited on this on its face because it's like a new console, which is unusual for me. But I agree with you, Sean, in that I think they have been kind of done a little bit dirty at times because people are thinking they're like the cheap console, and that yeah, when you're trying to appeal for kids, you got multiple kids in your family, you're going to buy multiple consoles for them. I don't really know of many families that have multiple PlayStation 5s for, one for each kid or whatever. So I think Nintendo being a lower price point, that was a good marketing strategy for them. But I think because they're basically uniting their mobile, they did this last time, but their mobile game system and their home system, two revenue streams into one. So they're going to lose something from each side of that because you're having to make compromises on each side. Like it's not as mobile as the other one. It's not as graphically powerful as it could be. And I think, yeah, the Switch 2 is like a step towards having to push the envelope. Like they realized that, hey, if we're needed to make games that display on a 4K TV that actually like push 4K graphics, you can't have like 1080p versus, you can't have original HD graphics on a 4K television, right? When people were expecting high resolution all the time, you can't have something that looks like a GameCube practically on it because all those pixels are going to be a lot bigger, right? They have to, and therefore they have to spend more money on the back end for all your designers and your artists to create that stuff. The higher polygon, texture count, and all that stuff, it's going to cost more money. They got to pay for it somehow, and they are being a little bit not evil, but they're making their money in a lot of weird ways. That maybe sounds kind of strange, like they're going to charge $10 for this game that should have been like a tech demo that came for free, which is almost like an instruction manual. That is a little bit, that kind of is a little icky for me. But it's only $10. Okay. You have, like they're allowing previous owners, like you can play the Switch 1 games in the Switch 2, I believe, but it's Switch 1 graphics. If you want to upgrade to the 4K, because they had to spend money to make these things upgraded, it's only going to be $10 to upgrade, which is not horrible.
And you don't have to spend it if you don't want to.
And you don't have to spend it if you want to. And if you do their online service, it's free, which is a benefit.
Unless it's Legend of Zelda, and then it's $30 each game if you want to play the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But I digress.
No, say again.
They announced that for the upgraded version of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, one, you need to own the original game, right? But for two, to get the Switch 2 version of each of those games, it's a $30 expansion pass or whatever nomenclature they put on those games.
I don't think that's right.
To be able to play the Switch. Is it not? I can look it up.
I think there was an article that came out
I remember
today.
reading
They
that,
said that
like,
both of the upgrades to go from Switch 1 to 2 are going to be $10. One-time fee. But let me finish my little points. All
right.
The previous, not counting Switch 1, if I'm including Switch 2 and Switch 1 kind of in the same ecosystem, because they kind of are, right? The previous two consoles that were three consoles were disc-based. It's a hell of a lot cheaper to produce things that are on a disc than on a cartridge. They learned that, which is kind of a mistake from their N64 days, when N64 went up against PlayStation. The cost of making a cartridge is a lot more. And obviously Super Nintendo, those are cartridges. So I think producing the cartridges on its own are more expensive. You have more transistors and other components in there that are outsourced outside of Nintendo's manufacturing process. Probably they have to rely on other companies to be able to supply them all these things to build the stuff. You can't just stamp a disc out, right? So it's just, you got to earn more money to pay for these costs. And if people were like, oh, this is not fair because we're used to paying cheaper prices, I mean, I can bring out a 1994 Sears catalog that I have on my shelf, and it has like Street Fighter 2 for Super Nintendo was $70.
Yep, I
Now,
remember that.
adjusting for inflation, that's $150 in today's money. So really, it's not as expensive as they used to be. We just got the rest of the market went to disc. So in order to play in that pool, they had to match the pricing of those discs. But now they're at a point where they're still committing to the hardware being like a cartridge, yet the discs have probably gotten cheaper every year, right? Because the manufacturing process is better. I don't know. I'm kind of. It's gonna hurt having to buy one for Grant and myself. We're not gonna do that at first, but I mean, I can't complain too much because he ended up getting a Switch One. Well, obviously Switch One. He ended up getting a Legend of Zelda themed Switch when he already had one. Like, people buy themed versions of consoles all the time and end up with multiple consoles from Nintendo. Well, if you combine those into one cost, it's probably not as much as a Switch 2. I don't know. I can
Yeah.
see both sides of it, but I'm more and more with you, Sean. I think the more I think about it, and like, it's like the Mario Kart, like you're saying, the DLC cost for the Mario Kart 8, if you were to purchase that, it's $25 plus the original $60. That's $85. That's cheaper, $5 cheaper than the retail cost of the new Mario Kart game. I can talk about this for like an hour, but we have other stuff to talk
Yeah.
about.
But I mean, I want to say one more thing, and then I want to use it to kind of piggyback into something else that's somewhat related. The pricing of the console is not permanent. The price of the console can change. It's not typically in Nintendo's wheelhouse, especially recently, to really lower the price of a console.
Or
But
games.
they came out with a light, right? They came out with a light. They came out with the LED version. So, excuse me. They have brought about different things to try to make it more accessible to more people. So that's something they can possibly change. Donovan's dying to talk.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Not okay.
Do it.
All of what you're saying, there is a very good argument to what you're saying, except for the scalpers market around Nintendo products. Nintendo can decide to do whatever they want in terms of like pricing and financing and all that other kind of stuff. But around Nintendo, there is such a high demand for it and such a low supply that we have seen throughout their history that like scalpers are going to get in when the Switch 2 comes out. They're going to buy up all the stock in the inventory, and then it's going to be resold for 2 to 3 times that cost.
Yeah, that's been every console for the last 8 years, though.
Yeah.
No, it's not just Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's common everywhere. But Nintendo has very little control over that. They want to sell as many systems as possible. And no, they do, because the system is a one-time purchase. If they don't get that into the hands of more people to buy more games, it's not going to help their business model either. So if there's
I don't
a sales,
know if I agree with that, but go on.
How is it not?
Because
you buy one system, you buy multiple games.
Well, you say they don't have any control over that. They could increase production to increase the supply so that there's not so much demand that it creates this secondary scalpers market around their product. I mean, we saw this. We've seen this like with the Wii, with the amiibos. Every time an amiibo comes out, you can never find an amiibo because they get
that is different.
What was the term? Sniped. But I mean, they intentionally keep the supply low as to increase demand. Like they're very aware of this market and what it is to do, and they could fix the problem, but they don't.
There's you could buy Switches all over the place, and that's been for a long time.
But when the Switches first came out,
the first year for any system is always going to be a pain point.
Except for the Wii U. And maybe the Switch too. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. The saving grace, I think, for the Switch 2, at least for me, is the fact that if you buy one game that you want to play with other people in the house, you can stream to other consoles. I think that is like the saving grace to all of this, because if I had to spend $700 on a Switch 2 for every person in my house that wanted to play a game, it's not feasible. But if I can spend $700 and then like broadcast or whatever they want to call it, broadcast or stream to the other switches that we already own in the house, that I can get behind. That okay, we can work
They're
within that.
but they are enabling lending of games to people within your family group, which is a big bonus. You may not be able to play them at the same time, but if you're in the same house, then hook it to a TV and play split screen.
But that would presume you have multiple switches, though, right? Still, like who are you gonna lend
Well,
it to if there's only one switch?
You can have other friends in a group too. I think it doesn't have to be
Okay.
just family.
What did you
But
find out,
there's- I
Donovan,
think-
about the cost of that game? The upgrade.
Oh, you're right. It is $10 per upgrade pack. They're calling them upgrade packs. So I read something false. You're right.
So
It's $10, not 30.
really quick, and you guys can kind of expand on this more if you want. Otherwise, we could just kind of call the conversation dead. But I think a lot of what we're seeing with the Switch 2 is a symptom of modern electronics, where there is very little innovation left to be had in them, and it's why most cell phones look the same. Even though the folding phones are out, they tend to be a gimmick more than a really good functional part. Game consoles and streaming devices. I think between the Switch and the Steam Deck, I think it's basically killed for the handheld markets because it's basically been figured out. I think the only other innovative space is for integrated computing or VR. I think that we're going to see an end to a lot of the innovation that we've seen for most of our lifetime, at least for a good period of time, because everything that is going outside of those lines is going to appear to be a gimmick and not really contributing to the overall better enjoyment or quality of the product.
You make a good point there, because I mean, if you consider before the Switch ecosystem was the Wii U, and they were pretty innovative with that idea.
They were,
and it bit them in the ass. So maybe they're a little more gun shy with the console being like,
the Switch won
out of nowhere.
The Switch
Right.
the Switch killed every other video game market in a lot of ways. They figured it out.
Yeah.
You have family console and you have travel handheld in the same device. And the Steam Deck came out with full PC power to be able to play AAA titles in your hand. In fact, I got a Steam Deck recently and it's fantastic. It's over. They figured it out. I think it's done in a lot of ways. It's why Xbox is looking at doing a handheld. It's why PlayStation's trying to figure out what to do with their next system.
Yeah.
I think anybody that does not go forward using the Steam Deck and Switch as a model is going to fail in the long run.
I'm not sure how much money Nintendo can really hope to expect in innovation from a webcam that they hook to their system. I mean, that's cute, but really,
I think it's to appease maybe the streaming market if they ever open it up to be able to stream.
maybe, but
for Twitch or other
they show
things.
people like using their full body, almost like a Kinect, but it's using the webcam as
Yeah,
the input,
yeah,
and it's like that's like
TPR
10
stuff.
years too late, man. Come on.
At least it's only $50.
And they see
So
unless you want the Piranha Plant or the Lakitu version that doesn't exist, or it's holding the camera like it needs to happen. Well, let's talk about something
I
else.
want to.
Yeah,
I want to see the Nintendo Alarm integration with the Switch too.
there you go.
Oh gosh.
That's innovation. I didn't
Anyways.
get it, so I mean, you can't appease me, I guess.
So my final comment about all this, because we can move on. I
Yeah.
could keep talking about this for hours.
We
We
should
can move on.
we should have an after show where we just keep bitching about
Yeah.
the Switch 2. Let's do it.
No,
We
that's
talked-
not
we
what
talked
it
about- we
is.
talked
I
about
mean,
doing
it's
that.
No.
because like all
It's
of
a good
these
debate. It's a
conversations
good
I've had
debate.
about this,
Yeah.
I've had it in my head, and so it's just like getting all of this
Sure.
out. But one of the things that I've always loved about Nintendo is their core philosophy of, I'm trying to get the wording right, lateral thinking of withered technology. Is that the
Did you say
The wording?
Did you say withered technology?
withered technology? Let me look it up.
thought-
I want to make sure that I'm
Old
quoting
and
this correct.
decrepit?
Lateral thinking of lateral thinking of withered technology is the genius behind Nintendo's little known product philosophy. Lateral, because what they do is they take technology that's been proven and tested, and then they think of alternate ways to use that technology. So they don't have to innovate in a way that have to innovate technology in a way that it goes beyond the scope of what they know will work.
Sure.
So what they do is they
They have a
take
little
the
test idea and
technology
they'll
that's
expand
yeah.
upon it. Yeah.
What they do is that they take technology that other people have tested out and figured out all the bugs and figured out what to do with it, and then they say, well, how can we do something different with it? And so that's always been their corporate philosophy. Whereas the Switch 2 seems like, instead of lateral thinking of corporate technology, it's almost like they're what am I trying to say? You know, when a movie franchise goes on for so long that it almost becomes a parody of itself rather than a parody of the genre or a parody of the story or whatnot. It seems like the Switch 2 has gotten to the point where Nintendo is making a parody of itself rather than making something new. They're making something that is a copy of itself. Rather than lateral thinking of withered technology, they've like, it's almost like they've pushed that aside and they're just becoming a parody of itself. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's late here, so
it makes sense, but I actually don't agree with you.
okay. Which is fine. This is just how I see this. Just because it's like that's always
And
seemed
that
to have been
the-
a driving force for them, whereas
except
this
that-
seems
Except that the concept of the withered technology probably is only accurate going back to the Nintendo 64, because they were a technical innovator, all the way through then. And when everybody moved on to discs, they stayed with cartridges, and that might be an example of the withered technology. The GameCube, maybe, but they were still innovating in some ways. I don't think that that's accurate for all their systems. And right now, even the Switch 2, I don't think it's a parody. I think it's an incremental improvement, almost like an iPhone S. It's we know that we need to address these things. We need to make sure that we have better controllers to address drift. We need to make sure that we're able to do 4K. We need to make sure we have better graphics. But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
They didn't push the envelope beyond that.
Yeah.
Because yes, it works, but they needed some sort of small incremental upgrade to
Keep up.
to not get left too far behind.
I would agree with that, because they had the 3DS, and then they came out with the new 3DS, which played all the original 3DS games, but then there were specific games that only worked on the new 3DS. The naming scheme and stuff was garbage.
Their handheld
But-
environment was a little bit of a mess
was.
with their improvements.
But in that same thought of, like, they tested a basic system and they upgraded it and they had some new games for that. That's kind of what they're doing here, right? With the Switch and do some minor upgrades.
Yeah, there is a precedent for this.
Yeah. Where the Wii, I don't know who they copied for the Wii motion controls. They set the paradigm that everyone else copied after that with, PlayStation and Xbox. But
So
Same-
some execs and engineers in like fever dreams to dream that up.
let's move
so
on.
there's
Please.
a book. Yeah, no, there's a book where I'm drawing this thought process from, called Super Mario: How Nintendo Conquered America by Jeff Ryan, that I actually just got done listening to on my phone, which is how I remembered this lateral thinking of withered technology and got me on that thought process. So if you want to listen to or read a book about Nintendo and
I'll check it
how
out.
they did what they
Homework.
did. Yeah, Super Mario. Homework.
Let's do some movies, man. Movies. Superman. Did you guys see the full trailer?
Yeah,
Thoughts?
my thoughts
Are
on
you-
Superman have not changed since we first talked about it
Okay, fair enough.
in the
Okay.
first trailer.
That's fair enough.
I thoroughly enjoyed the short sequence with Crypto jumping on him and playing like a dog would.
Yeah.
But my thoughts have not changed overall. I'm still gonna watch it, and I'm hoping it's fun. I'm hoping it's enjoyable. That's it.
I've been so programmed to have like a dark Superman tone to be expected that seeing the silliness in that was like kind of off-putting at first. I had to watch it like 3 times before I actually like felt like I liked it, which is weird. It is a tonal shift from the other previous Superman incarnation, uh, and it's like Superman used to have jokes and stuff in it. It used to be more fun and lighthearted, and I don't know, I need to deprogram myself with this movie, I think, and hopefully it is good. I'm excited about it. It's my favorite superhero, so hopefully they do it right.
No comments, Donovan?
My thoughts haven't changed on it. I'm excited for it. I'm worried that they're trying to do too much in one movie, but
I agree with that.
we'll see how it.
Yeah.
We'll see how it pans out. Because
What-
even my kids
yeah.
are like, "Who's that? Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's?" Well, let me tell you.
This news came out a couple of weeks ago. Can I go this one, or go ahead, Sean? It looks like I was cutting you off.
I was just going to bring up because it just came out with the Minecraft movie. If you guys are planning on seeing
Minecraft
it,
movie. I am planning on seeing it.
we saw it opening night.
Your face. tells a
Interesting.
lot. Okay.
Wait. Out of all movies that we need you to watch sometimes,
I know.
It is
right?
the first time I've
the
went to the
heck?
movie theater
How about some heads up, man?
in so long. No,
Now,
just because my
now, was
kids
it-
were
was
Doing
it-
us
so
dirty.
excited to see
Doing
it.
us dirty.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was going to ask. If it was largely fueled by your kids.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I have not seen a theater so packed since Endgame. It was
That's good.
The
That's
theater
good.
was packed with kids.
I'm glad.
I mean, and parents, obviously, but the majority of them were kids. And thank heavens. It's so dumb. Oh my gosh. It is so
it's supposed
dumb.
to be.
I know.
This
I
is
know.
this is not our movie. Minecraft is like the defining thing of the next generation, of my kids' generation. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow with my kids. And I was telling them, I'm like, this game helped define your guys' childhood. You guys put so many hours into this during COVID. This became your social center, playing with other kids. I mean, it's a huge thing for them. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna understand a lot of the references or Easter eggs. Don't care if it's semi
That's
enjoyable.
the whole movie is references and Easter eggs. The plot of the movie is references and Easter eggs. I'm just like,
I'm old guy Gen X. It's not for me, but I will go
It's-
because I have
it's
students. And I have
crazy
kids.
just because, like, I don't understand how somebody who's not played Minecraft can watch this movie and understand anything that's going on. Like, it is not accessible to anyone that is not like played Minecraft like deeply. Like, there is so much that goes into that movie. It was like the only way you can understand what is happening right now is if you play Minecraft. Otherwise, like, it's just, I mean, it's Jared Hess, Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, so it has that comedic sensibility to it.
I mean, Napoleon Dynamite didn't make sense to anybody, but ended up being super great. So,
I know. And
Yeah.
this movie, it's gonna make $1 billion.
yeah.
Like,
I hope it does.
It's-
I actually hope it does.
it's gonna make $1 billion.
I want it to succeed regardless of what I think of it. I want more movies. I want the theater to continue on. I want kids, the younger generation, to be excited about going to the theater. So if that happened to the Minecraft movie, so be it.
There's just so much, there's so much potential. I feel like there's so much wasted potential. You could have done such an amazing thing.
Stop thinking with your adult brain. It's not for you.
No, but it's like I played like Minecraft 1.0. Like, that's how long I've been playing Minecraft. Like,
Yeah,
since
you played it
its
as
inception.
an adult.
That's a very loose term, but yeah.
You said it, not me. Did you guys see Brave New World? Captain America 4?
Yes.
You had to
And-
think about it for a
and-
second, huh?
And that says everything. So
Very disappointed.
I thought, I didn't think it was as bad as a lot of other people said it was. It was entertaining. Was it great? No. Was it top tier, even middle tier Marvel? No. But it was a movie. They got made.
Okay,
It
that's
was
the
a movie
threshold.
that got
now.
made.
All right.
I know.
So on the
I'm
back
trying to
of
be
that,
more-
are you going to go see Thundercats?
Thundercats.
Thundercats, not Thundercats.
Yes, I
Not
will.
Thundercats. Sorry, not Thundercats. What's the
Thunderbolts.
new Marvel one? Thunderbolts.
I'll go see it.
Yeah.
I'll go see it.
Grant's excited about it. I'm gonna see it. It can't be as bad as I don't know.
Some of the more recent marketing
Yeah,
for the movie I think has been fun, and I'm just looking for fun. I'm not looking for deep story or really emotional or really moving content. I think that train has passed.
yeah.
At least until Doomsday, possibly. Hopefully the Russos can bring their A game, but all I can do is hope.
What about
So
this?
before we start,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead, and then I'll say the connecting part.
I don't have a connecting part.
No, but I do. So go ahead and say what
Oh.
you're gonna say.
You guys hear about those woolly mice?
Yes.
It was like a
I
couple
did.
weeks ago. Woolly mice? Oh, Donovan is not up on it.
I also heard about the direwolves.
Well,
Have you
that's
heard
what I
about
was
the
getting.
direwolves?
Spoiler alert, man. I was getting there.
Sorry, man. I
God.
was in the future. I was
There's
in
a
the future.
narrative. I'm trying to
Okay,
weave,
woolly mice.
trying to weave a
Woolly
thread
mice.
for those that aren't
Okay.
aware.
A woolly bully.
So basically, they turned on genes that they associated with woolly mammoth, and they gave mice characteristics visually of that of a woolly mammoth. And so they're like super cute. They have hair that looks like woolly mammoths, and that's pretty much the gist of that. It was sort of like a test bed of like, is it as easy as this? They're not made from woolly mammoths or anything like that.
If they didn't have tusks, I'm very disappointed.
That's true. They should have had tusks. But
Little
yes,
tusks on the mice, that would have been cool.
they announced today that, or 11 hours ago, I think, I watched a couple videos on it, that as Sean alluded to so eloquently, the same company said that they have 6-month-old dire wolves that are genetically identical to dire wolves that went extinct like 10 to 15,000 years ago.
They
I
brought
believe.
them back.
And they brought them back. It's the first de-extinction. So we're obviously you can draw the parallel to Jurassic Park for good or bad. And every
I
news
was
thing
about
I'm
to
watching,
say, holy Alan Grant, Batman.
yeah, every news thing is doing that, and they're aware of this. They said they expect them to. So they basically took. I'm paraphrasing because I just watched the thing today, but for those that are not aware, look it up. They basically took a cell and they from a modern gray wolf. They extracted all the genetic material out of it, so it's basically just like a shell. They had 2 samples of direwolf DNA from 2 different sources. They compared those to modern wolves, and they figured out what genes they needed to switch to turn them to that. And so basically, then they took that DNA material and they put it in that embryo or the cell, and then they planted it into a certain type of dog that. This sounds worse the more I describe it, but basically a dog that's healthy enough and large enough to birth dire wolves that have never existed.
Basically acted as a surrogate.
Surrogate, exactly. And they're white. They have wolf characteristics, and they said they expect them to grow like 6 feet long, which is insane. And they're going to be on a 2,000-acre farm upstate. That they'll live.
Yeah, it's ecological preserve.
Wow.
That's pretty
6 to 7 feet
awesome.
in length and 3.5 to 4 feet tall. That is huge.
So there's actually they have a couple that are older than 6 months. I think the female is 6 months right now. They have 2 males that I think are 10 months.
Right.
And they're
Romulus
already
and Remus,
they're already 5 feet in length and about 85 pounds.
That is dope. That is so cool.
People were pissed about
did you
it.
hear so did you hear the other part of this of who one of the major investors in the Peter Jackson?
Really?
And he just bought the Iron Throne from an auction. So you can see the dire wolves on the Iron Throne. although they're trying to limit a direct interaction with them
Right.
because you want them to have as
Re-
much as
Review
theoretically
their
possible to
natural,
be right,
reactions. Yeah.
right. Although we've already messed it up because
In a preserve.
they're they're in a preserve. They're still being fed.
Yeah.
They're trying to give them natural things that might have been in their environment to chew on and eat, and they're going to be
Right.
introducing carcasses soon, and see how they do hunting.
We don't even know
And
how
they're
they.
already starting.
Yeah. All of our knowledge is based on like theory, right? Because we don't have any records of this, so we have to see what they
Yeah,
like to know what to throw at them, right? So it's interesting.
and we're never going to get 100% pure data anyways because
Right.
they don't have a natural habitat anymore. So
Right.
we're looking at a pseudo best case
Habitat.
scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this is like I remember in the late '90s they had the Dolly, the first clone sheep, and that was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
watershed moment that you don't really hear much about anymore. I guess clones are everywhere now. I don't know, but this is like a similar kind of breakthrough level, if not
I
even.
assume I assume a lot of things have been cloned that
We're just
that
not even aware of.
we're
Right?
not
I guess.
we're not aware of, we're not supposed to know about, or super secret. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But the ability is there, and I also heard that they used AI to help sequence some parts that they weren't sure. So that might have been the
Hmm.
missing ingredient in being able to finish some of these things that have been left unfinished.
That's cool.
So get those saddles ready for the T-Rexes.
That could be a whole episode.
Man,
just talking about the morality of this, right? And like
Well,
the different vantage points.
as it develops and
Yeah.
other things, because you know that they're going to start doing
Oh,
this
yeah.
with other creatures as well. I heard a while back that they were going to try doing that with the dodo.
Yeah, and the Tasmanian tiger. Yep.
Yeah, the
Thylacine.
dodo would be interesting because it's simply a bird. It's but and that one isn't even been extinct that long,
Mm.
so it may not be a bad step or not a bad idea.
Mm.
Although I bet they could turn on some dinosaur genes in that bird.
Right?
Velocidodo.
Velocidodo. So really quick, back to the movie thing, and we could talk on this more, off air or whatever. But this summer is going to be a huge summer for movies, and it'd be kind of fun if we do kind of like our summer movie wager. We try to pick like the top 5 or top 10 movies. So
Hmm.
some of the to work on offline and present.
Yes,
Hopefully
yes.
by beginning. Actually, we should probably have that ready by the end of this month because Thunderbolts comes out May 2nd already.
Maybe we should double up.
And
this
summer
month.
movie,
Yeah.
summer movie season really should be from May to the end of August. So,
At the beginning of May, I'm not going to be here for 2 weeks, so we should do it this month. You guys watching Daredevil? I'm going to assume that Donovan's not, because he's not into superheroes as much anymore. You watching Daredevil, Sean?
I watched the first 2 episodes,
Yeah.
which I thought were okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to finish watching on my own. My wife just wasn't into it.
Yeah. It's a little slow.
The tone, it's a little bit slow. I don't think it's bad, but it's a little bit slow, and the tone is different
Oh, yeah.
than the original series.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to give it a shot. I'll let you know when I finish it.
Yeah.
I hear there's some interesting stuff in it.
So far. Yep.
See where it goes.
What else do I got on the list? You had something about drones you mentioned in the pre-show. Is that worth mentioning, or just
we were talking about we were talking about things like almost like what's in our feed, and I've been seeing a lot about drones, but not drones in like the typical remote control sense, but ones that are now can hold a passenger. I think I mentioned it before. A company called Jetson One that is going to be going to market soon. There is a helicopter that is now using drone technology to basically simplify the process of flying a helicopter. It's a space that I'm really interested in because, I mean, why not? I'm tired of traffic. I like to fly over it, and and not just on my flight simulator here at home.
Heck yeah.
But, yep. fun stuff coming up, hopefully.
On the flip side of the drone discussion, on the other end of the spectrum, I recently got back into flying what they call tiny whoop drones. They're super small, like 3-inch drones that have a headset. You fly first person. Myself and Turi from When Geeks Craft got together on Friday. We set up some obstacles underneath my deck, and we're going to illuminate them with lights and stuff. We're going to make a little obstacle course. And I always put them down for a few months. And when this time of the year comes around, when it gets to be nice, actually sitting out there, it's so much fun. It's just like pure enjoyment. Like, I don't have many things that I can really say I enjoy that much. Of course, when you crash and you're down for like a couple weeks, if it's like a really bad one, you gotta get a new drone. This only happened one time. Not bad. When I flew into the only puddle in like a 2-yard radius. Then the puddle was only like 4 inches across, and somehow I fell into it. I don't know. I'm really that good of a pilot. I put a 3-inch drone in a 4-inch hole. I mean, let's just say, that's pretty good. I haven't had any complaints. Yeah.
Have you watched Bob's Burgers, where he teaches his daughter how to drive?
No, but I need to. That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, you
Okay.
do, because that scene will be very applicable to your story.
Especially because my daughter is going to start taking driver's ed in the summer. So, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, let me throw up real quick.
It'd be funny if you could live stream from the FPV view for you flying.
I'll be in the passenger seat, just follow behind her, tell her to get in the lines and everything. That'd be hilarious.
My son's been driving for a little while now. He'll be up for his license in September.
Wow. Crazy.
Yep.
What's in your feed, Donovan? What have you been watching lately? YouTube, either YouTube or music, or
what, watching
Instagram, or just not really geeking out. Can you name something that might be of
what's
interest?
on your radar? What's in your feed?
Yeah, what's in your feed? It's a new segment we're starting. That we introduced
one of the
so
things
easily.
that I mean, I do a lot of TikTok, and a lot of Dungeons and D&D companies have been reaching out to do partnerships with me for TikTok content, which is this side. My puppets have become regular features on videos that I do in partnership with these D&D companies, and so I've seen a lot of there's a lot of D&D content that is in my feed right now, just because that's the world that I'm in. I'm doing D&D campaigns with my kids. We're doing a really big D&D campaign at a store here in Broken Arrow. I'm building 2 D&D tables in my garage, and so that's kind of been the world that I've been immersed in a lot lately. Is all D&D. So that's what's been in my feed.
Do you have like a little like time bubble that you like build all these other projects within, where you have time for everything else in your life?
There is a secret. You don't sleep.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's almost midnight right now for me, and I'm
That
doing
explains
this.
that wild look in your eyes.
Yeah,
I know.
You might have the same lifeless look as the puppet behind you. Speaking of lifeless looks, we have patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks. You guys know that, right? I don't have the list of the patrons up right now, so please continue talking about how awesome they are while I pull that up.
Without our awesome patrons, we wouldn't be able to do all the awesome things we've been doing over the course of the years, and that includes trips, helping with just the podcast in general, and all of the upkeep of keeping this train rolling, or going off the rails as it does sometimes. But it's all thanks to our patrons that allow us to keep talking about all these weird and fun topics that hopefully you get a lot out of as I ramble on and wait for Wes to kind of come in and take over.
Like this. We'd like to especially thank our top patrons, Matthew from How I Do It, and Jordan Rimple. You guys are $10 tier patrons. You are tied for top patron. So you guys got to duke it out there. a little bit.
Man, we're rusty.
We were so rusty. But we seriously though, we want to thank the people that have stuck with us. A lot of these people were patrons during our hiatus. Now, while we didn't charge them anything because we didn't have any new episodes, they didn't outright cancel it. You know, even after we came back alive and reactivated and charged their credit card after a year and a half of inactivity, they still stayed along for the ride because they're that awesome. They're that devoted. And we love them so much. If you want to become a patron so we can love you a lot too, go to patreon.com/makinggeeks.
Was that a question?
No?
Okay. Just making sure.
So, any specific you guys are geeking out about that we haven't covered in some form in our last hour recording?
Yes.
Go for it.
So there's an artist that Josh. So we used to have another podcast host. His name was Josh. He used to listen to a band, and he tried to introduce me to a band called Dury for years, and I just never followed the links he sent me. I don't know. I don't really have a good excuse. Well, it was a huge mistake. In the last year, I somehow listened to them enough where on YouTube Music I was in the top 0.05% of listeners for their band, so I really like them. And they haven't had an album in a couple years, and they just announced a new album coming out in June, and the first song they released called This Movie Sucks, which is hilarious. There are Jurassic Park references. And they have a music video that they just came out with, which is hysterical, which you guys should probably watch. And it's funny, if I try to ask the robot AI that starts with A from Amazon, and that I can't say out loud because it'll trigger it in this room. If I say A, play This Movie Sucks, she like glitches out because she thinks I'm like insulting her, and she does that sound where it's like dinner, and it doesn't actually play it. So they found a title of a song, probably accidentally, that can't be easily played, which is probably not a good thing for them. But anyways, it's just an odd thing I discovered. Check out Dury. They're really fun. And also, I got introduced to a band called Wolves of Glendale, which if you've never heard of them, they are pretty hilarious. They open for a couple of comedy bands. It's almost like Weird Al, but edgier. So they have a song called Olivia, which should be your top, like, first song if you listen to it. It's about having a ghost as a roommate, and it's hysterical. I drove home from Virginia Beach for a 3-hour drive, and half of it I listened to that one song on repeat for like an hour and a half because it was so funny. Yeah, check out those two bands and let me know what you think.
So one of talking about all these things that bring up feelings of nostalgia, a video came across my feed of a particular ninja answering questions from the internet, and I was like, oh, I remember this guy. He was hilarious. Circa 2005, a little content creator called Ask a Ninja. I don't know if either of you know this content creator at all, but
Not personally.
It's a guy dressed up as a ninja. It's all satire. It's all comedy. It's super funny, and he just answers questions that the internet asks of him. So he started 18 years ago, and then took a 10-year hiatus, and then the last couple days has come back, and it's been amazing watching his content again, because it is like one of my OG content creators that I used to follow on YouTube back in the day. That is now, he's back, and he looks and sounds exactly the same. He's in his 40s, and he jokes about being like old and still being a ninja. If you haven't watched any of his content, go watch his content. It's fantastic. Ask a Ninja.
And I'm geeking out about Nintendo. No, I'm joking. Had enough of that
Hate
right
you.
now.
Wes's head pops up, huh?
So with with everything that usually ends up in my feed, which is usually a combination of lasers, political stuff, and other nonsense. Something that has caught my interest over the last maybe 6 months is terrariums, but terrariums that are the plant-based terrariums, where you kind of build them with all different sorts of like fauna and stuff, and then seal them in. I haven't built one yet, but I am planning to, and it just seems something really appealing, almost like this representation of nature that you can have in your home, and I just find it kind of a nice contrast in watching some of that content. And I don't remember the creator's name, but maybe I'll post it somewhere. Just all the different ways and different containers that can be used to set up these little micro environments. And I kind of like the idea of maybe like integrating some sort of geek related IEP into a certain environment and just watch it grow, hopefully. And I hope it grows because I tend to kill everything that I try to plant. Um, but it's been a nice contrast to other things that usually show up in my feed. And I look forward to finishing some of the laser stuff I'm working on so I can dive into something that is very different than what I've been doing in the past. Search up terrariums or living terrariums on YouTube and see what you find.
I would like to make a slight correction for the Patreon list. We actually have we do have a top patron that's above those other two jokers that I listed. Square Splinter has $11 per podcast episode. I couldn't not thank him as well, because that would be just wrong. Thank you for your support, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. It's cool that we have this many people who have been supporters for so long. Yeah.
Speaking of support, if you'd like to find out more about myself, I have a channel on all the different social media. It's called Geeksmithing. Welcome. My name is Wes. You can find me at all of those. Look up stuff. You can find out things about like LEDs and Pac-Man and Nintendo and painting and all kinds of creative stuff. You never know what I'm going to get into next. Yeah.
Man, that would have been a beautiful segue into a sponsorship from MeUndies.
Oh, I mean, hey, it could be coming.
Yeah. Since I'm talking, if you want to find out all the stuff I'm doing, Geek Dad DIY, not Geek Daddy, Geek Dad DIY.
Also has
I get
relationship
every
to
single
Undies.
day.
Is that an Undies segue too?
Every single day.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, we can the segues just write themselves now.
And if this is one of the first episodes that you're hearing, you can find
I
all of my
apologize.
content. That too. You can find all my content under Geek Builders. A lot of the stuff you're going to find right now seems to be laser-related content, but I did used to make things at one time. If you go back far enough in the catalog, you'll find things that I used to make, and hopefully will make again.
And if you have any ideas for a future show topic besides just Nintendo for 40 minutes straight, please message us at any one of our channels, or hop on to Patreon, send us a message on there. You don't have to be a member to do it. There's a free tier. You could send us messages. Get in contact with us if you have some ideas. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. We'll be recording again soon, although we can't give you an exact date. We are still trying to maintain that one episode a month, even though we missed last month. We might try to do a bonus episode in April, given some travel and vacation coming up for the summer season. And we'll probably be coming back really soon with that summer movie wager / prediction list.
I like it.
Yep. I forgot how we used to end these
from
things.
all of us to all of you out there in Geekland, we thank you. Tune in Saturday for not a new episode, because we don't do it every week. So joke's on you. If you want to hear some other episodes, check out our back catalog. We have over 300 episodes. I guarantee you there's one you missed. See you guys. Have a good week.
Take care.
See ya.
And that's how you do it.
You have a fan? No.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
I think I want to come up with like a new outro, just because it's so